ustedes nuestra presentadora Chispita.
Buenas tardes a todos, gracias por estar acompañándonos en su programa ¿Sabías? Dialogando con Chispita Paparazza. Thank you everyone to be here in your show, Did You Know? Dialoguing with Chispita Paparazza. Hoy tenemos un programa muy especial porque tenemos a nuestro invitado Jeff Scott. We have a special program today because we have our guest Jeff Scott. And we're going to discuss some very important situations that happened in the last votings, and now we don't have representation for District 9.
Correct.
Thank you so much, Mr. Scott, to be here with me.
It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm flattered to be invited back a second time to be able to talk about the issues that are affecting people in our community. And this is a big one because a lot of the national media is very focused on what's going on in the state. So everybody's got deep concerns over their representation.
Oh, yes, and especially with the Spanish population that we give our vote, and we want to respond. We want to know what's going on with our votes because it's about trust. It's about we give our time, and we want to count in that part that somebody respond to us when we have the necessity. And now it's situations, it's an issue that they don't give it to us answers. What's going on? That time is wrong, and we don't have representation in the District 9.
Yeah, so that is a difficult problem. There's a couple questions there. One is, how do I, deal with, let me get comfortable here. How do I deal with my community? How do I get people enthused about supporting the things that are important? And we can have a long talk about that, and I'll get to that in a minute. But one of the things that I've had trouble doing is, getting voters to come out and to look past a lot of the problems in the electoral system and look past what they think are issues of corruption or incompetence or conflicts of interest, not getting the services that you need, not getting the services that have been promised.
And we pay taxes. In February it's closed. And
yeah, that's right.
We pay for that
that's
position.
Right.
That means we want represented. We want to respond. We want answers.
That's right. Okay, so let's just talk about the office for a second.
Yes, please.
Because the congressman is not sitting there, and it's open, and that means there's nobody there to take calls. So one example of a group that might be suffering right now is veterans, right? Because veterans, I know, based on the figures that I've seen, call the Congress's office about 6 times a day. So six veterans a day. Yes. So that's about prescriptions and meetings with doctors and follow-up appointments and other related issues. So the person in the 9th District who worked for Robert Pittenger, the congressman who was defeated in the primary back in May of last year, he has a person that's very capable of handling veterans and military affairs. He's the person who deals with these calls and deals with the files.
But it's not his responsibility right now because he was the last one.
Well, that's what I don't know. And I'd like to know. I'd like to know if veterans, because this area is full of veterans and former military people and current military people, all the way out to Fayetteville, Lake County. So they're going to be needing services. We know that I've written on the Veterans Administration and some of their problems, so I'm somewhat conversant in the way that I think it might be restructured in the future, but there is a real a here and now problem. And the here and now problem, problema ahora, is that the veterans need veterans services. And they're calling their congressman The congressman is not there. Is somebody else there? I don't know. Senator Tillis has said that he will take care of some of these things, but we don't really know beyond the veterans who might not be getting their calls answered and might not be getting their problems resolved. We don't know what other constituents need any kind of immediate services. Certainly, if there was some kind of emergency like flooding, storms, things like that, where we needed a strong voice in Congress to talk about the need for emergency declaration or emergency funds, or being able to
with
offer
people with
transportation.
disability.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
disability people, they need support too. That's not only veterans. It's not somebody like I have some physical, mentally, or situations in the system.
That's
or
right.
Seniors too.
That's right. For federal services, for all of the federal services that the Congress has put into place and is supposed to be monitoring and is supposed to be funding adequately, and which it has promised people, they have to answer to their constituents who aren't getting the service that they want. So you can call your congressman and say, I'm not getting from Social Security.
Right now,
I'm not getting. I'm having troubles with Medicare. I'm having troubles with these government services that are not, meeting the need they said they were going to provide, or I've got some kind of special problem. So congressmen and women do offer a form of constituency service because people are interacting with their government, and I don't know how that's going to work out. There's 435.
That's what I tried to look for the numbers. 45, 45.
45.
But right now in Charlotte,
435. So 435 representatives.
435 representantes.
But there's only 434.
Solamente hay 434 representantes.
Because there's no representative.
Porque no hay representantes
from District 9.
Para el Distrito 9.
Sí.
That was my next question.
Yes,
Is the only one?
That's
the only area
one
that we don't have represented.
That's right, and that's why there's national media focus. The national media is looking at the way the state.
Charlotte's incredible.
Yeah.
Charlotte, that is very clear about political parties, CEOs, and some business areas, and the federal is not clear yet.
Yeah.
In only one part. Because the votes.
Yes, but I think it goes beyond that. So that there is a vote count issue, right? That's true, because there was only 900 votes separating the first place from the second place. I got 5,000 votes, so both parties are angry with me because they think I stole votes from their party.
And then they have they don't agree what they see, and now they fight back to see what they can do to have the position they see.
Yeah, so when there's that small of a margin, when it's that small, you have the right to order a recount. And so what happened is that they did not order a recount, but the board out in Bladen County, the elections board, which is an appointed board, decided they will not certify the race because of what they consider irregularities, and that means very aggressive get-out-the-vote techniques that involve absentee ballots, and people working on behalf of campaigns to go retrieve absentee ballots, to go encourage people to vote. To go to their homes and say, will you take
votes?
Yeah, will you fill out a form to get an absentee ballot, and then you get an absentee ballot, and I'll come back in a week or two. You fill it out, once you fill it out and you seal it and sign it, I'll witness it for you, and then I will walk you to the mailbox and you can put it in the mailbox, because legally I can't hold your absentee ballot once it's been signed. You have to put it in the mailbox. But you see that campaigns pay for this service, right? And they pay a lot of money for it. And people are willing to do this kind of part-time work during election season because it's lucrative. It's good money, and they're.
But it's not trust.
Well, the thing
because
is,
it's to happen now. That something can happen.
That's right. So
for our vote, that we want somebody to represent us, but we can trust because can be like what happened now. We don't have representative, and this issue to take more time. But we don't have the time that go to clarify everything, and we can see somebody else.
That's right. So my take in it is different than the other two candidates. So the other two candidates, Mark Harris, the Republican who won, his position is that he wants to order the board, which doesn't exist anymore. It got dissolved by. Okay, so this is muy
complicado.
Muy complicado.
Complicated.
He wants to force the board. He wants a decision. There is no board, so what he's doing is he's going to a higher level of government.
Okay.
And telling that, and by a certain what's called a writ of mandamus, just it's an order, and if they decide yes, we're going to do it, then he would be certified, and then he would be seated. So it's telling a higher level of government to order something that a lower level of government did not do, and that they did not do correctly. So his view is that they acted in bad faith. They didn't get the investigation done in time. They delayed things. They wanted to take in. They wanted to get a lot more information. They didn't do it competently. So he's got a good case, and I support his legal case. And here's why I support his legal case. Let it be said that I get along with Mark Harris. I disagree with him very strongly on many things, and I'm highly critical of many of his policies. And nevertheless, having said that, it's always a pleasure to sit down with him and talk, especially him and his wife.
We are open here in Chispita Paparazza shows. If you want to come and share with us too, that topic going to be wonderful.
Yes. So I support his legal position. His legal position seems to me to be best for the district, right? Best for the representation. If the shoe were on the other foot, if McCready had won by 900, even though I don't like him as much personally, and I might have a lot of agreements with him that I don't even know about because he doesn't say a lot, I would say the same thing. It's better to just seat him and then do the investigation and move on, because he had the majority and the recounts didn't show anything. So I think it would be better to do that rather than leave an empty seat.
It's very hard too for Latino community or immigrant community that give the vote.
Yes.
For the first time for many years, we saw that for Hispanic population want somebody to represent us for our necessity. We see that we have kids.
Yes.
They born here, grow up here, and they go over there to give it to them the vote. And we had the parents that they're immigrant, they don't have legally statement. It's a legally I forgot
absentee.
No, they don't have the documentation to be legal.
Oh.
But we had the representative for the kids. They go and vote.
Oh, at the school board. Yes. So.
And that's very hard that we cannot trust, because the same system, they don't do what they need to do in the time they need to do. When you mentioned that the board is not active,
yes.
And you mentioned the time that was the election that was in November, and now that is January 4th.
And it could go on and on.
It can be that we don't have exactly time like a law. The law says you need to have 30 days or 300 something weeks or something. they give it to you a specific time for this situation. They don't have the time. Where is our rights?
Okay, well, everybody, not just the Latin community, has trouble with government agencies, right? And so this is kind of a national embarrassment, really, for the state of North Carolina.
Just mention Charlotte.
That all of these institutions, elected officials, appointed boards, county boards, district attorneys, the governor's office, the legislators, all of the ¿cómo se dice? Gatekeepers, all the people who have public trust.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to have broken down, and they're not working together very well. And now the voters, whether that's veterans or minority voters or even people who just need some basic services, are going to be very frustrated by this. So there's two issues. There's one which is how the electoral system works and how we can try to fix that, which we can get back to. And then there's, well, what are the services that I need and my community needs? And we talked a little bit about that. Who do I need to call to get the things that I want? And then there's the other issue of, well, how do I get more support for the community that I'm in, for the community of Latinos who need to figure out how to process their claims, whether it's through whatever agency, whether they're trying to get a driver's license or whatever, and also how to express themselves at the ballot box if they want to participate. So I suggested, or I would suggest, that you take a little bit of a lesson from the professionals who are active in getting out the vote. The people who are in fact offering their services. It's true that not all of them are clean. Some of them do like to cut corners. There's a lot of money at stake, but you can use that model of getting out the vote, and it just takes a little bit of money, a little bit of aptitude, a little bit of willpower, some organizational skills to get on the phone, to go out to neighborhoods. And I say this as a third-party candidate who has a lot of trouble doing that. So this is not. I'm not saying this is easy, but I'm saying that this is how good candidacies and good get-out-the-vote efforts and good campaign strategies work. You do have to go talk to your community and get them out. And in some cases, you gift them the absentee ballots and tell them what they need to do, or you drive them to the polls, or what the African Americans do, the souls to the polls on the Sunday before the election. Those are all totally legitimate techniques. It's just that some people cheat a little bit. And that's
what my question. Do you think that somebody pay for that person or that particular person do it illegal stuff, but they know they don't care to see that it's very to have that particular leaders in that position? Do you think that somebody else, they know what they do, but they do it no matter what because they don't want to lose?
Well, here's what, and Chris Cano and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, because
Christian Cano?
Yeah.
Say hello to Christian Cano.
Hey, Chris. We were talking about this because we said, well, do we really think that someone is going to approach a campaign, whether it's Mark Harris or anybody, and say, I'm going to work for you, I'm going to help you get out the vote, I'm going to work in the neighborhoods where you're weak, where you really need people to vote for you, and a lot of them don't really care that much about the election, but they're happy that someone like me is going to come talk to them about the candidacy. So I'll do that, for money, for pay, because I'm a professional. And don't worry, I'm not going to do anything illegal. Okay? So, you know, you don't, unless Mark Harris is some secret, corrupt kingpin, you know, crime kingpin, I don't think he and his staff are actively seeking people who will do illegal things for their campaign. So it might be that the people he hired, you know, were lazy, they were cut corners.
They are not ready to have that position to go to the community and do what they need to do.
So it's not clear that there was a systematic problem. With that technique. It is very clear to me that this has been going on a long time, and that there have been corners cut many times, and there's evidence of that going back to 2010. But the expectation, if you hire people like that to do that, is that they're not going to break the law, and that you've got a contract with them. And actually, that would be interesting to see what the actual contract is, what the actual agreement is, because maybe that could be a reform that could be adopted in the future, assuming we get to the truth of the matter. And I guess now would be a good time to bring up my basic position, which is that because of all these failures, I think it's more appropriate to have a form of a hearing that's really a truth and reconciliation hearing, and that way people can come in and they can feel confident that they can say what they know without suffering potential future penalties down the line from very aggressive district attorneys that want to go after them for, you know, what they thought might just be a minor infraction. Oh well, I signed it, he couldn't sign it, and he was 95 years old, and I had to help him do this, and then I took the ballot and dropped it in the post office box, and that's all illegal. That's illegal. That's illegal. But you know that we know that happens. So the question is, well, you know, is a district attorney really going to go after stuff like that? And that's why there's been this ambiguity about what you can do and what you can't do, and that's why people are just going, no one's going to know. And I understand that. I understand that when there's a whole chain of, excuse me, there's a whole chain of people involved in making sure that the process works correct, that, you know, it breaks down a little bit at all the important points. You know, you can
see that we have, when they don't do what they need to do correctly, we have now the issue that we don't have, we give the time, we go out, you see the 2,000 and plus Latinos that go to do something different, but that we don't receive what we receive. For this area that you say there's area number 9, and we don't have representative or somebody to represent us in that chair. The veterans need help.
Yes.
It's no matter what, the seniors, the disability people, they need help. They need medication. They need a place to live. The kids, they have disability too, and now we don't have no one. What I can see in the future in 2020, that can be happen too for the president's position.
Well, I guess what you're saying is that there's a double frustration here. The frustration is that we're not getting the services we want, and we
go around again.
We're trying to complain about it. We're trying to call people. We're trying to demand better services in the areas that we need, and now we've got an additional barrier. There's more problems that we have to overcome because we don't have the representation.
And it's not because they don't know. That happened before, years ago too.
I don't disagree with you.
Why they don't work?
So I'm trying to offer a positive proposal, right? I'm saying take Mark Harris's legal position. Go ahead and seat him so we have representation. Then do a hearing where people can get amnesty or immunity by coming in and telling what they know, so that we can have better elections in the future. Because otherwise, if we just continue to investigate and we don't seat anybody, this is going to happen again in 2020. The
And
exact
what
same
happened
thing.
with my daughters, what happened with the kids is growing and they see that we don't improve
That's
what
right.
we
That's right.
have
It's
the
very-
intelligence, we are the adult,
That's
we learn about our rights, the Constitution of the United States, but we see the difference.
That's right.
That's-
So there are a
It's
lot.
not clear.
There are a lot of independent and unaffiliated voters, and many of them are libertarian, but some of them are also Democrats, or Republicans, or Greens, who are very discouraged, and they don't want to participate in the system. They don't want to vote because they're very discouraged, and they don't see a real solution. And this, what's happening in North Carolina, in some respects, is proof of what they say. The system is rigged. There's a lot of cheating. They don't count the votes properly. The partisan bickering, the struggle for power
That's why we don't.
is affecting people's lives, people who can't get the services that have been promised and the commitments that have been made. And so therefore, why should we vote? Why should we bother?
And that happened to Spanish. They
Yeah,
say
yeah.
exactly what did you say in,
Yes.
in English? They
Yes.
say in Spanish. Nobody go to do something for me.
That's right.
In the time that they had job,
Yes.
in the time they had the money to pay the rents and to
Yeah.
have something to eat
Yes.
and to put the clothes,
Right.
they don't care because
It's
they
very
don't demonstrate
Right.
that they respect them.
Well,
Because me in
yes.
general, in immigrant in general, because we are not the only
Right.
Latino. We
That's right.
see some other areas that need help
Yes.
too. They don't think that they are valued in the community, like Hindi area, Hindi community, or Chinese or Japanese or Philippines.
Yes.
They don't feel like they are part of the community.
Well,
And
let me say
it's
something about that.
And I talk with everyone. Like
yeah.
I have a good relationship with Italian and
Yeah.
Brazilian. Everybody is together. For me, we are mixed.
Yes.
But what's the way? Give it to me. Convince me something. Because it's not easy. And I'm going to clarify something. Before the elections, I invite some of the candidates that now they are the the city councilors. Thank you. In the city councilors, and they was running for senators or representatives. I connect directly with the people that was in the campaign, but all the time they have situations or the storm or something. They don't came here for the show. I want to you know them, and I want to you learn who represent you or what the job that they do. If you are the one that I call, or you want to come, that I don't call you, or I don't send it to you message, but you want to come, you are more than welcome. The community need to know about you and what's your job that you can represent us. It's me. Thank you again, Mr. Scott, for your time.
Well, let me just sort of step back from what you just said and talk about myself for a minute, because we've known each other for a little while now, and I have expressed to you the kind of person I am. The kind of person I am is I consider myself somewhat cosmopolitan. I do like the arts. I like dance. I like music, theater, culture. I like fine food, artisan food. That means that I go to experience these things as part of the world I'm living in. So I always want to be challenged by other people's views, the way that other people live, and the way that they think about the world. So I'm always open to that, and that creates some difficulties. I do think that I try to represent individuals and independence, right? Independent thinking. So sometimes it's difficult for me to relate to communities that have needs, right? Because some communities, and we talked about this before, people need to just get basic government services, whether it's driver's licenses or banking services or things like that, and that makes it very difficult. So On the positive side, on the positive side from as against the difficulty of working with government, and in particular in this government situation that we're in now, the private economy is a very great place to be right now, especially for the headline just today was Latin American unemployment is at an all-time low.
Yes, I saw that.
So I think that is helpful in dealing with the seasonal blues that people get. The job market is robust, and that just means that we don't, despite all of the other complaints we might have about our life in the state at the moment, we do have some job opportunities, and it looks to be fairly solid growth. So that keeps certainly young people, my children, out of the despair that they might be feeling that they can't find something constructive to do in their life. So having a good job market is a lot better than not having a very good job market. So I think that there's some way to think positively about what's going on in the state, because I give the North Carolina Republicans over the last several years a lot of credit for having a good business
Just mean
environment.
that you was a Republican?
No, I was not a Republican.
Okay.
I mean, I was strategically registered as a Republican to vote for a libertarian, Ron Paul.
Need to clarify that too.
In the past, yeah. So I'm a libertarian, as we discussed before. Liberal in Spanish is the liberty, the
Or
original American system.
independent, because sometimes
Yes,
they can't understand like we are independent.
Yes, we have some things in common with Republicans and some things in common with Democrats.
You was Democrat?
And some things in common with the Greens. So my father's a Democrat. My mother was a Republican. My stepdad was a Republican. My sister's a Democrat. My half brother is a Democrat. I'm trying to think if I've got any other. I've got another very libertarian-leaning sister. Two other libertarian-leaning sisters. I've got some libertarians in my extended family, but some Republicans and some
That means
Democrats.
that you don't represent a specific traditional group, like this traditional, like a Republican and Democrat. You are liberal,
Yes.
because you can share some rights, ideas, project for both sides. But sometimes you analyze that you're in the middle, like you're in the middle and working with something that can working for both sides, not only one side.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I try to understand.
Right.
That liberty.
And just to give you two examples, Republicans were traditionally fiscally conservative, meaning that they kept a tight belt, a clear view of how much money is coming in and how much is going out.
That's the money side.
That's the money side, and just trying to keep it so that it stayed to reasonable proportions. And so I appreciate that tradition that they have. And the Democrats, when I was growing up, the Democrats were fiercely anti-war. They were part of the wars raging in Vietnam, and it was mostly Democrats who were standing up and saying, no, we don't want to do this anymore. And so I am a strong anti-war advocate, but I feel that the Democratic Party itself has kind of lost its way and has allowed, through successive administrations, whether it's Bush or Obama or Clinton before that, has allowed us to create some chaos in the world where we didn't need to do that. So I am disappointed that the Democrats are not as anti-war as they should be.
You see that they go low in the time that there was a power to be more freedom.
Well,
in some of the area that they discuss about United States with all the war. That's what you try to say, that that's the Democrat, to be more fair in some freedom and liberty and rights for other areas of the
Y-
planet?
Yes, I think it's important to just state that we don't want to be bombing other people for no good reason. And so it's important to have a strong military and a strong defense. I agree with that, and I think most Democrats agree with that too. But I think we have to have a very strong purpose, and our purpose has to be to defend American interests and American citizens and American borders. And
that's a
the
good
purpose
point
of
because
defense.
not everybody know about that part about Democrat that is the one that control and go to the
Other countries.
country
Yeah.
to fight that. They think that's Republican. They
Yes,
do that.
but both,
That's a
but,
good point to learn.
but both parties
Because they have the money.
Have a
They
hand in
need
the mess.
to.
Yes.
They need to put the money
right.
to spend the money in that areas. If they destroy it, they need to repair.
Yes.
That's our money, our task.
Yes.
And the other part is that we don't want that you go. Why they don't go to Venezuela right now? They have a very big issue. Or why they continue go to to Cuba, to control Cuba, because Cuba is freedom. Why you want to control Cuba? But we saw the abuse in the past, and Arabia, Libya. If you go straight to the history, you want to know what's going on. Sometimes because they want more money, more control, and to demonstrate to everybody that they have a power.
That's right.
But no, I'm gonna say thank you because they think they Republicans the one that they do that, and that it's not.
It's not true.
It's that Democrat that they say something about Barack Obama.
Well,
the time that Barack Obama was a president, he was the first one, or some of the one. They export more people to the country, like right now the president that we have. This president say aloud what they go to do, and they do it. But sometimes they say that the Barack Obama, they never mention something, but they do.
Yeah, people like Barack Obama for his stature and his temperament and the way he speaks, and there's nothing wrong with that.
There's an ethnic too.
Yeah, that's right. You can like all those things legitimately and say, I admire him for those things. But for many anti-war Democrats and certainly many progressives, in 2016 on Labor Day weekend, we were bombing 6 different countries. American bombs were dropping on 6 different countries. So he was not the anti-war president. He was not the anti-surveillance president. He certainly wasn't the anti-corruption president. So, we don't need to talk a lot about Barack Obama. I know he's got a lot of fans and a lot of.
But I see your point, because I don't see Mr. Scott. I see liberty.
Yes.
I don't, in this topic, I don't see Republican or Democrat. I see what do you represent.
Right, and we talk about the issues-oriented candidacy.
Candidates,
right?
exactly.
So we
because
can talk about how young people might go out and look for issue-oriented candidates, people who are thinking independently, people who are trying to be authentic. I'm not a career politician. I entered just politics. I've been sort of dabbling on the edges for many years, but this is the first time I've really played a bigger role as a candidate and then as a local organizer of the Libertarian Party. So I'm an amateur at this. I'm not a professional. I'm just trying to say what I mean and certainly mean what I say. And we can take a moment to give people my phone number if they want to talk to me.
Of course.
Because I'm open to hearing from people all over the world, but I know we're really talking with people here in District 9 in South Charlotte and constituents, voters who may be frustrated. And if they have any questions about what's going on during the election or frustrations with not getting service, I'm trying to stay in touch with the people who are running the hearings and running the elections, and also helping with the constituency service to see what problems are really arising, because as you know, we haven't been here before. This is a new experience, so people are trying to kind of pitch in and figure out, well, what do we need to do to make sure this thing
continue to give it to us the service.
So my phone number is 510-928-2879, but you can also reach me en la ventana on la página de Facebook Messenger.
Yes, in the Facebook Messenger.
Yes.
Si tú quieres comunicarte con él está dando su información, puedes mandarle un mensaje por Facebook Messenger.
Sí, Facebook Messenger, yes. On my campaign page.
En la página de campaña, que lo conocen como Scott.
Scott, Jeff Scott for Congress, District 9. You should be able to search for it and find it pretty easily.
And that's las personas latinas que quieren conocer más de su trabajo, cómo él los puede ayudar, qué es lo que está corriendo en la campaña, como él estaba indicando, con mucho gusto él le puede responder, le manda un mensaje y él lo antes posible estaría llamándoles o comunicando directamente, reuniéndose con ustedes para darle la orientación del próximo paso. Right now, what you can see is the times pass and we don't have representative in that share. What is the risk?
What is I think
because we know that if we don't have immediately some solution, we don't have the board that working with that. We need to go to the other topic. In the time that top of that organization representation or federal law or FBI or someone take that case, what's going on with this time?
I think that I think the risk is that whoever is seated can't adjust, get acclimated, understand how to work in the system. So let's say Mark Harris.
Do you think you mentioned him like a 2-3 times?
Well,
do you think that he going to be in that seat?
If his legal claim holds water, and it could happen. It might have happened today. We haven't watched the news. It could happen over the weekend. So any day they could say, yes, we're going to certify it, and then he will go to Washington. So the problem could be over. But if they don't, then it could drag on for a very long time. So what you're asking me what the risk is, right? Mm-hmm. So the risk is that that he doesn't go and he doesn't participate. It takes him a while to learn what's going on, how to do what he needs to do, how to set up his office, how to deal with the other congressmen, how to work with issue-oriented groups, how to do all the things that a legislator has to do. Mark, I think he's about 7 or 8 years younger than me, and he seems to be somewhat professional. He's worked in as a pastor, and so he really needs to think about his in that environment. He really needs to adjust to the temperament and the professionalism and the pace and the discourse. What I said during the general election, was that I'm more suited than either Mark Harris or Dan McCready, because I have the professional temperament to operate in that environment, much more so than they do. Nevertheless, the risk is if he is there, he may not learn fast enough. His learning will be delayed about how it is that he operates. I mean, perhaps he will come up to speed. Maybe we don't know.
The procrastination.
Yeah. But I would say the same thing about the Democrat. If for any reason, and I don't see what his game plan is, but if he were seated, he would have the same set of issues. And he's a very young guy. He's 36 years old. He doesn't talk a lot about what his policies are. He's kind of arrogant. He doesn't want to talk to me. He doesn't want to debate me. He doesn't want to talk about issues So I think he would actually have a lot more problems going into that environment and getting his hand handed to him a couple of times, because I think he actually lacks the temperament. But that's just my criticism of him as a candidate and as a person who
interesting. I can invite him to talk in my show.
Give it a shot. Maybe he'll show up.
If you saw this program and you have a connection with him, please let him know that Chispita Paparazza, there's a talk show. Want to invite him to come and talk about this representation in our community. I'm more that blessing to have him.
Yeah. Well, he's, his legal firm, Perkins Co. in Washington, D.C. is being very, very aggressive about setting the tone for the hearings. They want to, have the hearings go, but they don't want to give anybody immunity. They want everybody to, say, in fear, say, I'm going to plead the fifth. I don't want to incriminate myself. I don't want to say anything that's going to get me into trouble. So, sorry, I'm not going to talk to you. That's what they want. That's what they want to do, because they believe that will create an atmosphere where people think, oh, all of these people cheated, all these people are guilty, all these people who are hiding something are probably guilty. So they want to raise the level of public outrage over the cheating. They want to think of Mark Harris as a kind of a kingpin who hired these very sketchy people to do all these illegal things, when it's pretty clear it's been going on for a long time. The firm that was doing that for Democrats for many years too, and they're just paid voter workers.
And now that the Latino is growing in the vote,
yes,
it's going to be more hard for the next one is coming around.
Yeah,
if we have somebody to represent, they know that we are here. We go to call. We go to ask for solutions or answers, actions.
Well,
it can be
I may be repeating myself, but for the Latin community, for any voter group, yes, your best bet is to get out the vote, to identify people who are supporters, see if you can get them to work for you, see if you can get them to put a sign in their yard, see if you can get them to make phone calls, see if they will work, either volunteer to support the campaigns of the people that are independent and strongly attached to your issues.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, right? That's really what the strategy is, and it's fairly tried and true. I don't fault the two campaigns that I ran against for being aggressive and spending a lot of money. I've got other criticisms of them, but that's not it. I mean, the fact that they had what they call a ground game, going out and hiring people to be able to take that activity, I think is very fortunate. If you've got millions of dollars to spend, that's the way to spend it. So again, I don't fault them, and in fact, I applaud them for being smart in doing that.
Do you see yourself again running for the District 9?
Yes, I do. I think I could do this again. I am doing it again. I mean, it feels like this is a little bit of a campaign appearance. I mean, if there is a re-election, I want to be able to point to people that what I was talking about back when there was a controversy. I want to say, here's my position. My position is we want the truth of the matter. We don't want to delay representation. We want to be prudent. We want to investigate thoroughly, but we also don't want to harm people who live in this district. We want them to get the services that they need. That we want them to be able to, if they're a veteran, call whatever it is that they need through their congressional office. They need to have those services, and the sooner we get there, the better. But if there has to be an investigation and there has to be further police action, further charges, district attorney coming out, or the legislature has to act to either impose some kind of punishment. That might be fines. He might have to pay a fine for doing something for hiring somebody who did something that they shouldn't have done. He might have to pay really big fines. He might have to throw somebody under the bus, meaning he might have to say, well, that guy was the guy who did it, and so he's going to spend 6 months in jail. I don't know if the election board itself can ban people from participating because they cheated, or because they committed some infraction, or because they committed really what is a serious felony, mail fraud, handling someone else's mail when it says explicitly you can't do that. That's a very serious issue. So I don't know what kind of teeth they have to impose penalties, and it might be that Congress takes it over. For me, one of the worst things that could happen is that the state can't function. The state, the governor, the legislature, the appointed boards, the courts, they can't figure out how to fix it, and it just drags on. They don't get anybody confessing to anything. Everybody's just sitting there saying, if you want me, come get me.
Why do you think that they do that?
Because I don't want the federal government coming in and taking control over our voting system. So the Department of Homeland Security...
They have the right to do that.
Not yet. The Department of Homeland Security, for example, which ICE is part of, has, I think, been a participant in orchestrating fear about immigrants and voter fraud and things like that. And I know you must be very sensitive to that. And I pointed this out during the campaign. I pointed this out that the DHS has been very aggressive doing this, and one of the reasons that they're looking at immigrants and their voting is that they are a government agency that's out of control with they have huge budgets for enforcement, and they want to impose, they want to sell software, cybersecurity software, to the states. So they've got big cronies who want to sell big systems to state governments that are saying, we've lost control of our voting system, please come in and help us. But I believe, in this sense, that states have the right to control that and to get it right. But if they screw it up the way we've been screwing up, we'll have no recourse except to say, okay, then let's let the federal government come in and take over our voting system. That would be very bad. That's not the kind of system.
Well.
That would be
And
very
you say
bad.
I respect, and I can see. I need to look for more information.
Yes,
we need to learn.
This is difficult. I've written about it on my campaign webpage, and you can do a search from the Migration Policy Institute and Social News and some of these other outlets that have covered what the DHS has said over the last couple of years about voter fraud and how they've tried to present these very, very scary stories about hacking into the systems and stuff, and alleged immigrant voter fraud, which is almost non-existent. I mean, they did, even after you do these audits, they don't find anything.
Yes, that gives to me feelings that the department, something happened similar in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
The police department need to have some budget in the end of the month, and they had a situation. That's a example that is coming in my mind.
Yes.
The way that they work with the system.
Yes.
Because they have a phone calls to a young girl that the husband was in domestic violence and tell her that he go to kill her, and she wasn't the police officer in the phone for 4 hours that he tried to come inside. She was waiting 4 hours, and he came inside and killed her. And one of the reporters would say directly with the director, why you not help the woman that was calling for 4 hours, tell you that she need help because the ex-husband want to kill her. And he mentioned, the director of the police department say public that they need to cover some other area about tickets, parking lot tickets.
Yeah.
Because more important to have that money in the end of the month to cover the department.
Yeah.
He said public.
That's right.
I saw the video. He said very public about it.
Yeah.
And that's when you mention that, they give it to me the feedback. I say, oh my God, that's the system. That's more power in
Yes.
United States. Like I can compare Puerto Rico, is the same. That corrections. That means they want to cover first some other areas that you mentioned.
That's right.
Immigrants, to focus something that's not important really, because if they know the criminal, they know the gang, they know somebody, they do something positive about love or security for the community, they can go and take it.
That's right. So that's sort of classic behavior of bureaucracies. If they've got a priority,
one person,
the priority isn't to serve customers.
Or the board.
The priority is to serve the bureaucracy. So they're very bureaucracies are self-interested. They've got they kind of want to help customers, but not like in the private sector. The private sector, people in the private sector want to serve customers. They know that that's their lifeblood, and that they do everything they can. They jump over backwards to help the consumers of their products. They don't want to get a bad reputation. They need to keep their costs low. They need to keep focused. Otherwise, they go out of business. Bureaucracies that screw up don't go out of business. They just get bigger budgets. And they game the system so that they can continue to get larger budgets. So you're almost a libertarian. We're talking about bureaucracy.
Almost, I don't know.
We're talking about government bureaucracies.
I'm here, and I'm over there.
That's right. Well,
I'm the fourth party.
Yeah. So we're but
I'm
this
the
is
fourth party.
But if whether you were a Democrat or Republican or whatever, you would look at the behavior of these institutions, whether it's a police department saying I need to do something else because I need to fix my budget for the end of the month, or the DHS, we want to create a lot of fear because our budgets are growing and we want to penetrate this market by providing cybersecurity. That's behavior of bureaucries that are out of control.
And I mentioned this that I learned from Mr. Christian Cano. That's the other party.
Yes.
¿Verdad? Christian Cano said yes. And then he said to us, and I learned from him, and I thank you for that.
Yeah.
He all the time is with the book. I have the book for the Constitution.
Yes.
If you know the Constitution, so many of the police officers, they don't know the Constitution. They don't know, and they was in the university or they was in the military, but they don't know the Constitution. And when they do something incorrect, you see the behavior too. When the person talk about the Constitution, it's me. I like the Mr. Cano, Christian Cano show. There's a pan and cafe and pan dulce because he discussed all the time something about the Constitution.
Yes,
that's the other party.
That's right.
That's me. I'm not relative, but it's another party.
It's very wise.
But
very wise.
It can give it to me for the conclusion about this program, and I appreciate that point. Is about you need to do what you need to do and do it right now, and we saw the risk if we continue don't do nothing because it can be more strong, more challenge for the person to go to sit down there.
So you're talking
the
about
conclusion, the C about all these discussions about behavior, about the definitions and the representations about the parties and what we can have in the future if they don't working faster.
Well,
the conclusion of that.
I think I don't see a total state collapse, but I do see people continuing to get more cynical about what their representatives can do. So there may be far more rancorous forms of debate, marching in the streets, guillotines, yellow vests, whatever it is. People are going to continue to get very angry. I found that the last campaign season we were seeing some signs of that because a lot of people would not show up at voter forums. And so one of the things that's breaking down already is incivility, right? So we can't have discourse if we're always attacking one another. And
important.
Very important.
That point is very important.
If that breaks down more so than it already has, that will lead to very ugly situations. So I don't want that to happen, and that's why I'm in the race, and that's why I'm continuing to run, and that's why I'm involved in party politics, because I'm against that. But if that continues to inflame people and agitate people, it's going to be very difficult to mobilize voters that want to do the right thing. You're going to be mobilizing voters who are enraged and fearful, and they might be just terribly irrational about what it is that they want. I don't believe in a one-party state. I do believe in competing parties, but more than that, I believe in a multi-party system where a lot of people form coalitions around issues. So coalition or caucus or interest group around issues, whether that is medical marijuana. We could talk about the benefits of decriminalizing that in the state of North Carolina, or we can talk about again, going back to Veterans Affairs, or for example, what the state subsidies for stadiums and large buildings, or large scale projects.
More opportunity for employ.
That's right.
Jobs.
But it may be that it's very difficult to debate those things in a civil tone. It may be that people are so deeply embedded in their partisanship that they can't break out of their shell, and so that's. And we'll continue to see the courts at odds with the governor, who's at odds with the assembly, who's at odds with the elected boards, who are at odds with the local boards, who are at odds with the district attorneys. And so the sort of bitter partisan conflict has to end really soon, because it can't be. We don't want it to get worse. We just can't imagine. I guess I have to prepare for the fact that it actually could get worse and what that would look like. I just don't want that to happen. But because in theory, I would think as an independent, somewhat authentic, a low budget candidate, I would actually benefit from people just finally reaching their ultimate level of disgust. They just said, I can't participate in this. I was a lifelong Republican and I just won't do it anymore. Or I was a lifelong Democrat, I just can't do it anymore. I'm just going to walk away. And when they basically give it up, and you're basically handing it over to the rascals. Mm-hmm. You're giving it to the people who are power-lusting, incivil, corrupt people to play with your tax money as they want. And so we just cannot have a system like that. We can't operate like that.
Well, thank you so much, Mrs. Scott, to be here, and I appreciate everything that we learned.
Thank you.
That's the point that we had our show. Did you know? Dialoguing with Chispita Paparazza is to educate the people, is to be more inside about the situation that not everybody know.
Yeah.
This space to be more intensive.
Yes.
To everyone. And I say thank you for everybody to see us, and we go to see you in the next show. Did you know? Dialoguing with Chispita Paparazza. Thank you for our sponsors. They can support us in this show. If you have any question, you can call us at 980-477-1234. 477-1513. 477-1513. Kalalidis, event coordinator and talent agency with the show Did You Know? Dialoguing with Chispita Paparazza. Thank you so much.
Thank you.